Welcome back to WNBA Hoops TV. Today, we're diving into a story that has basketball fans talking everywhere. For years, the WNBA has thrived on fierce competition, unforgettable rivalries, and players unafraid to speak their minds. But every so often, a storyline comes along that stretches far beyond the final buzzer. It becomes a conversation about leadership, accountability, reputation, and the pressure of performing while millions of eyes are watching. Recently, that conversation has centered on three of the league's biggest names: Brittney Griner, Sophie Cunningham, and Caitlin Clark. Social media exploded with dramatic headlines claiming that Griner had been exposed, and even reduced to tears after comments and on-court moments involving Cunningham and Clark. Videos spread rapidly across YouTube, TikTok, and X, each promising shocking revelations and behind-the-scenes drama. Fans picked sides almost instantly. Some insisted the league was witnessing a changing of the guard. Others argued the entire narrative had been exaggerated far beyond what actually happened. So what really happened? Was there truly a defining moment that changed public perception? Did a series of highly publicized incidents gradually build into something much larger than anyone expected? Or was the internet creating a story that became bigger than the facts themselves? The answers aren't nearly as simple as the headlines suggest. Because when emotions run high, every foul, every interview, every reaction, and every viral clip can take on a life of its own. A split-second expression can become tomorrow's biggest debate. One heated exchange can dominate sports talk for days. And that's exactly why this story has captured basketball fans across America. It's not simply about three talented players. It's about how modern sports are shaped, not only by what happens on the hardwood, but by cameras, commentary, and millions of passionate fans interpreting every moment differently. But to understand how everything reached this point, we have to go back to where it all began. Long before Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, Brittney Griner had already established herself as one of the most dominant players the league had ever seen. Standing at 6'9", Griner transformed the center position with a combination of size, athleticism, and defensive instincts rarely seen in women's basketball. Shot after shot disappeared into her reach. Opposing offenses were forced to rethink entire game plans whenever she stepped onto the floor. Her resume spoke for itself. Multiple All-Star selections, a WNBA championship, Defensive Player of the Year honors, Olympic gold medals. Season after season, Griner proved she belonged among the elite. Her career, however, has never been defined solely by basketball. The events surrounding her detention in Russia in 2022 became one of the biggest stories in sports. After months of uncertainty, she returned to the United States in a high-profile prisoner exchange, and her comeback to professional basketball carried emotional significance well beyond wins and losses. Many fans admired her resilience. Others viewed every appearance through the lens of everything she had endured. That meant Griner returned to a spotlight unlike anything she had experienced before. Every game mattered. Every interview mattered. Every reaction mattered. Meanwhile, another transformation was quietly taking place across women's basketball. College arenas were selling out. Television ratings were climbing. Young stars were becoming household names before ever reaching the professional level. At the center of that movement stood Caitlin Clark. Few athletes in recent basketball history generated as much excitement entering a professional league. Her extraordinary shooting range, remarkable passing vision, and ability to take over games had captivated millions throughout her college career. When she entered the WNBA, expectations reached extraordinary levels. Some believed she would immediately reshape the league. Others cautioned that the professional game presented an entirely different challenge. Veteran players understood that every rookie, even one with unprecedented popularity, would need to earn respect through performance. From opening night, every Clark game became national news. Attendance surged. Television audiences increased. Media coverage expanded. The spotlight surrounding the league became brighter than ever before. That growth benefited the WNBA in many ways, but it also intensified scrutiny. Every hard foul became debate. Every physical matchup became controversy. Every emotional reaction became a headline. Veterans often emphasized that physical basketball had always been part of the league. Newer fans sometimes viewed those same moments differently. The result was an environment where ordinary basketball plays suddenly carried extraordinary attention. Then there was Sophie Cunningham, known throughout her career for toughness, energy, and fearless competitiveness. Cunningham developed a reputation as someone willing to stand up for teammates and embrace physical play. Whether fans loved her style or criticized it, few questioned her intensity. She played with visible emotion. She challenged opponents. She rarely backed away from confrontation. Those qualities earned respect from teammates while also making her one of the league's most polarizing personalities. As these three stories began intersecting, the basketball world noticed. Every matchup involving Clark attracted enormous attention. Every physical sequence involving veteran players generated instant discussion online. Every opinion from current and former players fueled another round of debate. The conversation gradually shifted beyond basketball strategy. People began asking broader questions. Was the league experiencing a generational transition? Were veteran players being unfairly criticized? Was Clark receiving unprecedented attention because of her popularity? Or were social media narratives exaggerating routine moments into league-wide controversies? Reasonable people reached very different conclusions, and that disagreement became part of the story itself. As the season unfolded, several games featuring Clark became defining moments in the public conversation. Hard screens, physical defense, competitive trash talk, plays that longtime basketball fans considered routine were suddenly replayed thousands of times across digital platforms. Commentators broke down every angle. Former players offered differing opinions. Fans flooded comment sections with passionate arguments. Some defended veteran intensity. Others believed certain plays crossed the line. The debate rarely slowed down. In that atmosphere, Cunningham's reputation for playing with emotion attracted even more attention. Supporters praised her willingness to protect teammates and compete aggressively. Critics argued her style occasionally added fuel to already heated situations. Regardless of perspective, one fact remained undeniable. When Cunningham was involved, people paid attention. At the same time, Griner found herself at the center of numerous basketball discussions, not only because of her play but because every emotional reaction from a superstar naturally drew cameras. Elite athletes often wear their emotions openly. That's nothing new. But in today's sports environment, even a brief expression can circulate online without the surrounding context. A frustrated look after a foul, a conversation with officials, an emotional timeout. Each clip can become part of a much larger narrative. That's precisely what makes separating fact from speculation so important. Because while headlines may claim dramatic confrontations or sweeping revelations, the reality is often more nuanced than a few viral seconds suggest. And yet, the attention surrounding Griner, Cunningham, and Clark only continued to grow. The next nationally televised matchup would become another flashpoint. Every possession seemed heavier, every whistle louder, every camera angle more closely examined. Fans weren't just watching basketball anymore. They were watching for the next moment that might ignite another nationwide debate. And before the final buzzer sounded, one sequence would once again send the basketball world racing to social media, leaving everyone asking the same question: had the narrative surrounding these stars changed forever? The anticipation surrounding the next stretch of games felt different. It wasn't just about standings anymore. Every nationally televised matchup involving Caitlin Clark seemed to carry two stories at once. The first was the basketball itself, the adjustments, the strategy, the execution. The second unfolded almost entirely outside the arena, where every possession was dissected in real time across television panels, podcasts, and social media. For veteran players like Brittney Griner, this was unfamiliar territory. The WNBA had always been competitive, physical, and emotional. Hard fouls, heated exchanges, and passionate reactions had been part of the league's identity for decades. But now, moments that might once have disappeared into a season-long highlight reel were being replayed millions of times within hours. One clip became another debate. One opinion sparked dozens more. And before long, the discussion often had less to do with basketball than with perception. That growing spotlight created an unusual challenge. Veterans wanted recognition for building the league into what it had become. New fans were discovering the WNBA largely through Caitlin Clark's arrival. Both realities could be true at the same time, yet online discussions often framed them as opposing sides. That tension became impossible to ignore. Throughout the season, Clark continued adapting to professional defenses. Opponents pressured her the moment she crossed half-court. Defenders crowded her space, challenged every pass, and forced her to make decisions at full speed. It was exactly what experienced teams do against elite playmakers. Clark responded by doing what had made her successful throughout her career. She adjusted. Instead of forcing impossible shots, she began reading defenses more patiently. Her passing became even more dangerous. Her chemistry with teammates steadily improved. The rookie who had entered the league carrying enormous expectations was beginning to look increasingly comfortable against the world's best players. That progress fueled another wave of discussion. Supporters argued Clark was proving she belonged among the league's elite much sooner than expected. Critics reminded everyone that one strong stretch did not define an entire career. Both viewpoints found audiences. Meanwhile, Brittney Griner continued serving as one of the anchors of her team. Her defensive presence remained undeniable. Opponents still had to account for her size on every possession. Even when she wasn't scoring in bunches, her impact could be measured through altered shots, defensive rotations, and the attention she commanded inside the paint. Yet every emotional reaction from Griner seemed to receive disproportionate attention. A conversation with an official, visible frustration after a missed call, a disappointed expression while walking to the bench. None of these moments were unusual for a highly competitive athlete. But once clipped and shared online without broader context, they often became the centerpiece of entirely new narratives. Some content creators interpreted those moments as evidence of frustration with officiating. Others suggested they reflected the pressure of constant public scrutiny. The truth was far less certain. Without Griner herself confirming what she was thinking, those interpretations remained speculation. Still, speculation spread quickly. That was especially true whenever Caitlin Clark happened to be on the opposite side of the conversation. As Clark's popularity continued expanding, nearly every interaction involving her attracted extraordinary attention. Routine defensive plays became viral clips. Ordinary basketball contact became headline material. Comment sections filled with thousands of competing interpretations. The speed at which these stories developed often outpaced the facts themselves. Then came another figure who consistently found herself in the middle of basketball conversations. Sophie Cunningham. Cunningham had built her reputation over years of fearless competition. She never tried to hide her emotions. She celebrated big plays. She defended teammates. She embraced the physical nature of professional basketball. Those characteristics earned admiration from many around the league. They also made her one of the easiest players for fans to misunderstand. Every emotional response became highly visible. Every confrontation drew cameras. Every passionate moment generated discussion. Supporters described her as fiercely loyal. Critics sometimes viewed the same actions differently. That divide became increasingly apparent as online conversations intensified. Around this time, basketball analysts began pointing out something important. The league itself hadn't suddenly become more physical. Veteran observers noted that tough defense, hard screens, and aggressive competition had always existed in the WNBA. What had changed was the audience. Millions of new viewers were watching every nationally televised game. Many were experiencing professional women's basketball for the first time. Naturally, they interpreted events through fresh eyes. That contrast created two very different conversations. Longtime fans often emphasized history. New fans focused on the present. Neither perspective fully captured the entire picture. As those discussions unfolded, television analysts repeatedly reminded audiences that the game's intensity reflected the respect opponents had for Clark's abilities. Elite players receive elite defensive attention. That principle has existed across basketball generations. Michael Jordan experienced it. Kobe Bryant experienced it. LeBron James experienced it. Every transformational player eventually becomes the opponent every defense wants to stop. Clark was learning that lesson in real time. Her response impressed many observers. Rather than retreating from physical play, she continued competing. She absorbed contact. She adjusted her decision-making. She trusted teammates. And little by little, her performances became more consistent. That growth shifted another part of the public conversation. Instead of asking whether Clark could survive in the WNBA, analysts increasingly discussed how high her ceiling might become. Meanwhile, Griner remained focused on helping her team compete. Post-game interviews consistently reflected her emphasis on basketball rather than internet debates. She spoke about execution, defense, communication, preparation. Those themes rarely generated viral headlines, but they reflected the priorities of a veteran determined to win games. Even so, dramatic social media titles continued appearing. Some claimed Griner had been exposed. Others suggested emotional reactions proved internal frustration. Yet careful examination often revealed something much less sensational. Competitive athletes show emotion. They react to victories and defeats. They celebrate. They become frustrated. None of that is unusual. What had changed was how quickly those moments traveled across digital platforms. At the same time, Cunningham continued earning praise from teammates and coaches for her relentless effort and competitive mindset. Her willingness to embrace difficult defensive assignments reinforced the identity she had built throughout her career. Whether fans agreed with her style or not, few questioned her commitment. As weeks passed, another realization began emerging. This wasn't simply a story about 3 individual players. It reflected something much larger. The WNBA itself was experiencing unprecedented visibility. Attendance records were falling. National broadcasts attracted larger audiences. Corporate partnerships expanded. Media coverage reached entirely new levels. Growth brought opportunity. It also brought heightened scrutiny. Every superstar became more recognizable. Every controversy appeared larger. Every emotional moment became more widely discussed. The spotlight that elevated the league also magnified every disagreement within it. Then another nationally televised game reignited the conversation once again. Analysts immediately began breaking down every possession. Fans rushed online before the fourth quarter had even ended. Former players offered competing perspectives. Some praised the competitive fire displayed by everyone involved. Others questioned whether the public conversation had drifted too far from the basketball itself. One thing, however, had become undeniable. The debate surrounding Brittney Griner, Sophie Cunningham, and Caitlin Clark was no longer just about individual games. It had evolved into a larger discussion about the future of the WNBA, how rivalries are interpreted in the social media era, and what happens when a rapidly growing league finds itself under an unprecedented national spotlight. And as the regular season continued, another pivotal stretch of games would test every narrative that had developed, bringing fresh challenges, renewed debate, and a chance for each player to define her story on the court rather than through viral headlines. As the season entered its most important stretch, one reality became impossible to ignore. The conversation surrounding Brittney Griner, Sophie Cunningham, and Caitlin Clark had grown far beyond any single game or viral clip. Every matchup involving one, or all of them, seemed to generate hours of analysis, countless social media posts, and passionate debates among fans. Yet once the noise faded, the players still had the same responsibility they had always carried. They had to step onto the court and compete. And in many ways, that became the biggest lesson of the entire story. For Caitlin Clark, the season gradually transformed from proving she belonged to proving how quickly she could evolve. Opposing teams continued designing defenses specifically to slow her down. Traps came earlier. Defenders fought through every screen. Passing lanes disappeared almost as quickly as they opened. Instead of forcing the issue, Clark adapted. She learned when to attack. She learned when to distribute. She learned that success in the WNBA wasn't measured by one spectacular highlight, but by making the right basketball decision over and over again. That growth didn't happen overnight. It came through difficult games, frustrating losses, and constant adjustments. Each challenge became another lesson. Each lesson made her a more complete player. By the end of the season, many analysts who had initially questioned whether Clark could adjust to the professional level were discussing something entirely different. How much better could she become? That shift in the conversation spoke volumes. Not because every critic had changed their opinion, but because Clark had allowed her performance to answer many of the questions. Brittney Griner's journey during the same period reflected a different kind of resilience. After everything she had experienced in recent years, every appearance on the court carried added significance. Expectations remained enormous. Cameras followed nearly every movement. Every emotional reaction risked becoming another headline. Yet Griner continued doing what elite veterans do. She competed. She anchored the defense. She battled in the paint. She provided experience to younger teammates. Like every great player, she experienced moments of frustration and moments of celebration. Those emotions were visible because that's the nature of high-level sports. But despite countless dramatic headlines circulating online, there is no verified public evidence that Griner was brought to tears because Sophie Cunningham or Caitlin Clark exposed her. Many viral videos and posts used emotionally charged titles that went well beyond what publicly documented events support. That distinction matters. In today's sports landscape, headlines are often designed to capture attention first. Context sometimes arrives later. For fans, separating documented facts from online speculation has become just as important as understanding the game itself. Sophie Cunningham's role in this evolving story also highlighted an important truth about professional basketball. She never attempted to become the center of internet debates. Her identity had always been clear: compete hard, stand up for teammates, play with emotion, accept criticism if it comes. Throughout her career, that mentality earned respect inside locker rooms, even as it sparked disagreement among opposing fan bases. Some viewers appreciated her toughness. Others believed she occasionally crossed the line. That's the nature of sports. Different fans interpret the same moment in different ways. And that's unlikely to change. Perhaps the most fascinating part of this entire story wasn't any individual play. It was how quickly narratives formed. A 6-second video clip could generate millions of views. A facial expression could inspire hundreds of articles and reaction videos. A heated moment during one possession could overshadow 40 minutes of outstanding basketball. The speed of modern media has changed the way fans experience sports. Games no longer end with the final buzzer. In many ways, that's when the second game begins, the one played across social media, podcasts, television studios, and comment sections. Sometimes those discussions provide valuable insight. Other times, they amplify speculation that isn't supported by the available facts. This story became a perfect example of that balance. There were real basketball moments. There were real competitive rivalries. There were genuine emotional reactions. But many of the more dramatic claims circulating online stretched well beyond what could actually be verified. At the same time, one positive outcome became increasingly clear. The WNBA was reaching audiences it had never reached before. Television ratings climbed. Attendance continued growing. Young fans discovered players they had never watched before. Veteran stars received renewed attention. Rookies introduced entirely new audiences to the league. Whether someone tuned in to watch Brittney Griner's dominance in the paint, Caitlin Clark's long-range shooting, Sophie Cunningham's relentless intensity, or countless other stars across the league, one thing became obvious. Women's basketball was experiencing historic momentum. That momentum belongs to far more than one player. It reflects decades of work by athletes who helped build the league long before the current spotlight arrived. It also reflects the excitement generated by a new generation of stars now helping carry that legacy forward. The relationship between veterans and newcomers isn't always simple. Competition rarely is. Every generation wants to prove itself. Every established player wants to defend what has already been built. Those competing motivations often produce the most compelling basketball. Not because anyone is trying to create controversy, but because everyone involved wants to win. That's what fans witnessed throughout this story. Elite competitors refusing to lower their standards. Players challenging one another. Teams battling for every possession. The conversations surrounding those games may continue long after the season ends. New highlights will emerge. New debates will begin. New stars will rise. But the foundation remains the same. Basketball is ultimately decided by preparation, teamwork, execution, and resilience, not by viral headlines. As for Brittney Griner, Sophie Cunningham, and Caitlin Clark, each continues writing her own story every time she steps onto the court. Some chapters will be celebrated. Others will be criticized. That's part of competing at the highest level. What matters most is how those stories unfold through performance rather than speculation. And perhaps that's the lasting lesson from this entire season. In an era where every moment can become a headline, the most meaningful answers still come from the game itself. Because when the crowd falls silent, the cameras stop rolling, and the internet moves on to the next debate, the scoreboard remains the only thing that cannot be argued. Stories like this remind us that basketball is about far more than viral moments or social media debates. It's about competitors pushing one another to improve, veterans protecting the standard they've helped build, and rising stars embracing the pressure that comes with great expectations. As fans, the best moments come when we appreciate both the intensity of the competition and the facts behind the headlines. If you enjoyed this documentary, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to WNBA Hoops TV, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the biggest stories in basketball. We'd also love to hear your perspective. How do you think the league's growing popularity is changing the way players are covered? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Keep the conversation respectful, and thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next documentary.